everybody. I am your leading lady, Tyra Hill, and welcome to the Tyra Hill Show. Today, I am excited to have a good queen and sister girl of mine on the Tyra Hill Show. Today, we're talking standing Mike tall, strong, with his mom, Paris Harrison. If you have been following this journey, it has been so unbelievable on how this family has allowed the world, you and I, to come into their lives and be a part of this journey. But you all know that Michael has transitioned, and so we want to talk about it today. What's going on with the family? How is the family doing? The journey through it all. So ladies and gentlemen, queens and kings, help me welcome his mother, Paris Harrison. Hey, P.
Hey, honey.
Have a seat. How are you?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I am wonderful. Have a seat. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I want to talk real quick. I was so shocked when I got the email from you.
Okay.
I think all of us have watched as you triumphed through this journey. And we know from your transparent posts that there were valleys, that there were mountains. Sometimes there was a middle.
Wow.
Sometimes there was a terrain. You get what I'm saying? It was just so many emotions watching you go through this. And I don't want to say just go through this, grow through this. Nobody is ever really prepared to lose a loved one, but a child is worse.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, yes, this is Paris' handsome son, Mike. Yes, honey. Also known as Mr. Michael Evans.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Paris, when I read the email, I was shocked.
Okay.
And the reason why I was shocked was because, and I said this to you off air, I felt like you had shared so much with us that you deserved a season of peace.
Right.
You know, to some, you just kind of shut down, went MIA a little bit, was missing in action.
Right.
But I understood. I don't know what it's like to lose a child. You get what I'm saying? And so I just felt like you needed that moment as his mother. You needed that private moment as his mom. And so when you told me that you were ready to talk about it and that you wanted me to do the interview, the exclusive interview, I was like, okay, I got you. So let's talk about what made you say that you were ready to talk about it.
Well, as you said, there have been so many people following this journey. So many people who I had no idea that I had the support and the faith base that I had on this journey with me. And so as I see people now out in public and they're Minister Paris, oh my God, that's standing Mike Strong's mom. I said, these folks got me out here feeling like I'm a celebrity. Wait a minute. But in all honesty, as a pastor, as a minister, my life is very transparent. And this journey with Mike turned out to be something I never expected to happen. And when I came to understand his portion in this ministry part of it wasn't for me to shut down. It was to continue his legacy. So that's why I agreed to go ahead and do that.
Well, I think, and kudos to you, so much respect and salute to you, Queen, because I don't think that you realize that people from all over the world were watching you, were donating, were a part of the journey. And so when you went dark, everybody was like, okay, well, what's going on?
Right.
You know, what's up? You know? So I was honored. You know, not only was I shocked, I was honored because I watched you. You know, and some days I cried. Some days I didn't want to get on Facebook because I didn't know what you were going to post.
Right.
You know, and so if I was feeling that way, I can only imagine how you was feeling.
Yeah, it was definitely a roller coaster. One, Never thought I would go on.
One that you never thought that you wasn't prepared. And let's use that analogy, because I just actually took my grandkids to Hershey Park a couple of weeks ago. And I'm a roller coaster rider. And I just, no matter how much you talk yourself into the dip,
you never know what to expect.
You never know what to expect, and you're never really ready.
Right.
You know, the anticipation is there, but you're never really ready for that drop. So let's get into the interview. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So let's start off talking about who was Mike as a baby. You were a teenage mom, right? Okay. Yeah, let's get into that part.
Mike as a baby. Okay, so Michael was this fat little caring, compassionate, loving child. He clinged to everybody. He was very quiet, very subtle. He loved to read. He loved school. And we grew up together.
Okay.
He taught me how to be a mom as much as I taught him how to be a man.
Okay.
And so his childhood with Nolan, it was very interesting.
Now, Nolan is
the second son.
Okay. Now, how many children do you have?
So I have 5 total.
5 children total.
Each of them are 6 years apart.
6 years apart parents. Yep. All right, 6 years. Okay, so you have Michael.
Mike's the oldest.
And then Nolan.
And
then
Jalen. He's 18 now.
Okay.
And then there's Maris, my princess.
Maris.
She's 13.
Okay.
And then there's Jordy, who is 5.
Okay.
So 5 total. This one being my oldest.
Okay.
This one taking me through the whole life journey.
And so, because I was a teenage mom. And so you find out you're pregnant. You're a teenage mom. And you're a teenager. And then you have this beautiful chubby baby.
Yeah.
And so you grow up together. And he's growing up. And he's growing up.
And he's taking me through the things that typical kids go through of, just needing a playmate. So I was his playmate, you know, having fun. Never had any issues out of him. But Michael was one of them kids that was very accident prone. So that's where my challenges came in with him. Mike has been hit by a car twice.
No!
Walking out in the street, just not paying attention, boom, got hit by a car. He falls out in the street, and I'm on a porch, and I'm going, oh my God! I'm running down, and the guy that hit him, he's like, oh my God, your son is dead. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not speaking. And he pops up, he says, oh, I'm okay.
And kept walking.
And kept on going. I said, okay, here we go.
So did that show you that he was a soldier?
He was very resilient. Yes.
Very resilient, even from a young age.
From a very young age, he always snapped back.
So let me ask you, when he got the diagnosis, and I'm going to attempt to pronunciate this word, systemic scleroderma.
You got it.
Which is it an autoimmune disease?
It is. So systemic scleroderma is an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
With Michael, it was something that was dormant.
Okay.
We had no idea that this was what would succumb his life.
Okay.
Now, as a child, I knew about him having sickle cell traits. So his father and I were very particular about that. We did all the life lessons of who to pair with, who not to pair with, focusing on the sickle cell, never knowing about the systemic scleroderma. It did not surface until later on, much later on in his years, and it was triggered by him getting a tattoo.
And you said that. I remember us having that conversation one time.
So anybody that's seen Michael's pictures, and I posted them, he has a tattoo on his arm, and it's our names on there. It's a cross, and it has his name and my name on there. And so he got that when he was 18. Mom, I need to get this tattoo. I want to get a tattoo. And then he brought up the fact, oh, Pop let you get a tattoo at 16.
They always compare.
There you go. So he ended up getting this tattoo. Never showed any adverse reaction to it or anything like that. Nothing, happened. It was fine. And I guess because nothing generated from it, he figured, okay, let's go get tattooed up. And that's what he began to do. He started getting sleeves on his arms. And then the last couple of tattoos that he got, they just didn't heal right. And so in my thinking, I was like, okay, it could be you just did too much at one time. Just take your time and let it heal. And then we didn't have any more problems after that for a while. It wasn't until he started getting sick.
Okay.
And then trying to figure out what was going on.
So when you say when he started getting sick, what were his symptoms then?
Let's see. The first thing I noticed was his weight went. So in his teenage years, high school, he slimmed down. He was a chubby kid, but then he slimmed down in high school. And then he went off to Virginia to go to school. And when he would send me pictures, I would just notice how big he had gotten in his face again. And I kept saying, Mike, I said, babe, something doesn't look right with your face. And he's like, oh, Mom, you know, I'm doing this, Dad, and I'm eating here, and I'm not cooking, I'm eating fast foods, and it's probably...
It's the college life.
Right.
It's the college life. I'm partying. Having fun.
And I said, no, that's not what it is. And he says, well, Mom, what do you think it is? I said, I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. This went on for a couple of years, and then one day he sent me another picture, and his eyes were very dark, and his face just looked really swollen. And I said, Michael, I said, babe, how have you been feeling? He says, oh, I feel pretty good. I'm okay. He says, you know, I get a little short of breath sometimes whenever I'm lifting weights, you know. And I said, okay, well, just keep an eye on it.
Was he athletic?
Very athletic.
Okay.
Very athletic. And then one day while lifting, he fainted. And I got a phone call that they were taking him to the emergency room. And the doctor just said it was exhaustion. So they told him to cut back. He did for a while, went back to lifting again, same thing happened again. He just kept fainting. And then after that, his body just began to break down. No energy, no appetite, weight loss, rapid weight loss. And then I got another picture. And this is all while the pandemic is going on. And so I can't get to him. I can't physically see him. I'm only doing video chats and everything. But this one video chat, I saw him and I said, oh my God. He said, what is it, Mom? I said, you have heart failure. Mom, why would you say that? I said, baby, I'm looking at your face. It's not right. I need to get you to a specialist. I said, you have heart failure. We got him.
Was it because you felt like, you know, and you listen to the elders within our community, and they say things like your eyes deep, your eyes yellow, you're losing your skin color. You see what I'm saying? It was those things that Big Mom and them used to say that we used to then pay attention to, but I'm the same way now.
There you go. Yeah, you got to pay attention to the signs. But we got him to a specialist, and they said no, nothing was wrong with him.
The specialist said the heart was healthy.
That the heart was healthy. Nothing was wrong with it.
So let me say this, because doing my research, I found out that scleroderma, systemic scleroderma, attacks the heart aggressively, and it also attacks other organs. Sometimes the nerves, sometimes the brains. But this, in Mike's case, and I'm calling him Mike like he just belongs to. In Michael's case, it aggressively attacked his heart.
So actually, it did not begin to attack his heart.
Okay.
What I saw were the warning signs of beginning stages of heart failure. So his heart was not affected at that point. What it triggered was his skin, where that tattoo would not heal. And so Michael, being him, hid from me that he had gotten additional tattoos. I knew about the one up here. I knew about this, but I didn't know about these sleeves. And he kept that from me. And so while he's having these fainting spells and going through, you know, what I would call morning sickness, because that was when he was the most sick
in the morning.
I had no idea about these tattoos. And it took for one of his cousins to say to me, well, you know, he got new tattoos. Did you ask him about his tattoos? And that's when it hit me. I said, I called him. I said, Mike, is this something you want to tell me? He says, Mom, what are you talking about? I said, how have you been feeling lately? He's telling me. And I said, do you have new tattoos? Oh, who told you about the tattoos? I said, it doesn't even matter who told me. I said, but that's what the problem
was
is.
triggering.
That's what it was. So I then began looking for a specialist to look into his skin and do some biopsies and everything of the skin. And although the areas had healed, the underlying had not healed.
So you began being his advocate.
Yes.
Putting him on this journey to finding out what was wrong with him. And so I know you said that the specialist said that his heart was fine, everything was fine. Let's go to the day that he was diagnosed with this horrific disease.
It took so long to get a diagnosis that by the time we got a diagnosis, we were getting a prognosis. Michael had been dealing with this for almost a year. On January the 8th of, 2019, my son called me at 6 in the morning, and I knew immediately something was wrong. Mom, I can't breathe, help me. And the phone hit the floor. And so I'm here in Maryland, he's in Richmond, and I'm panicking. And his dorm mate called me and said, well, Mrs. Evans, Mike's being rushed to the emergency room. You might want to call over there and find out what's going on. And I'm calling, and nobody can tell me anything. This went on for months. This began Mike's journey of being in the hospital that long. Of them trying to find out what was going on with him, what was wrong, what was causing all of this. And I'm there on the phone with them. I'm going, you need to be looking at this. You need to be checking out his heart. You need to be looking at these tattoos. And everybody is going, that's not what it is. That's not it.
Let's put a pin in it for a minute, because you are what I consider a holistic person.
Yes.
Paris has an herbal garden.
Yes.
You created your own water.
Yes.
And so you knew that something was going on with his body, that it was shutting down, that it was some type of toxicity up in there. And they were telling you, this is not the case. This is not the case. And you were saying,
yes, it is. I know exactly what it is. But because of the restrictions that we were on, I couldn't get him here to Maryland.
Okay.
And I always feel like, had I been able to get him here, the outcome would have been totally different. I think it went on maybe for about 5 or 6 months of Michael being there. And I'm not going to name the hospitals or anything because we're in some legal litigation.
Okay.
But when they finally came to me with some answers, not the full answers, some answers of, well, we noticed that his skin isn't healing. I already told you guys that. But what could be causing that? I have no idea, but we got to figure this thing out. By the time they figured it out, Michael's skin, so you, in this picture, I would say this is probably about maybe a almost wintertime picture, because he's even darker in this picture than what he normally is. Michael's a very light-skinned type guy. When I was able to finally get to Richmond, actually into Danville to see my son, he was 3 shades darker than me. And that's how bad, how aggressive that disease had literally eaten him alive. It looked like he had walked through fire. And from the skin breaking down, that's then when they started doing biopsies again. And that's when they came back and told me that it was scleroderma. They just didn't know how bad it was. And sadly to say, in those parts of the country who aren't equipped medically to handle certain things like that we can deal with here in Maryland, because we have such
some
high
of the
standards,
top doctors and hospitals and
they had no idea what to do with it. And so they treated him the best way that they knew how to, but then it was my job to do the rest.
Okay. So let me ask you, because after, I couldn't imagine what his mental was after hearing the diagnosis and the prognosis. What was his mental at that point?
In the beginning, a lot of fear. Mom, I haven't lived life yet. There's so much more I need to do. I haven't seen my family. We've been locked down for a year now. What is going on? I need to get home. Not having family there. So his mind was everywhere. What if I don't get to see you all? What if I don't make it home? And so he went into a panic mode. That panic led to a lot of depression.
Because that's another trigger.
Yeah, another trigger. Yep.
He's in a hospital. He's isolated. He's secluded. And then the doctors are telling him XYZ. There is no cure.
There is no
and
cure.
by the way, XYZ. So I can only imagine how that's why I asked about his mental.
His mental state like I said, it was very challenging. It was very challenging. But he found a lot of comfort in our conversations because Michael actually had just finished school for ministry. So that played a major, major role in his peace, in finding his peace. I think had he not explored that journey, he probably would have lost his mind in all of this. But he did. He did not.
That
Prayer,
was his anchor.
That, oh my God.
That was his anchor.
That was it. That was it.
Well, let's fast forward it to the day that you decided that you were going to allow the world, us, to join you on this journey.
Wow. I remember getting that phone call from one of Michael's doctors. That was the day I got his prognosis. And they said,
how did that call go?
Ooh.
Take us there for a minute.
Oh my. That call came about 11 o'clock that night. And this was when I finally was able to get him to a specialist, a very good specialist. And they told me, they said, we're going to find out what's wrong with him. And within a matter of hours of getting him to this new hospital, they did exactly that. They ran all the tests they needed to do. And he called me back and he says, Mrs. Evans, he has systemic scleroderma, but he has total heart failure. And I said, wow. I said, they told me that was not so. He says, it is. They said it has affected his lungs. His kidneys were very damaged. So what scleroderma does, it hardens the skin cells. And it makes it like leather. And once it kills off all of the skin cells, it then begins to go internal. And then it does the same thing to your organs. So his heart was becoming like a rock, literally. So as the doctor is explaining all this stuff to me, my mind is everywhere.
Because now, how is your mental as his mom?
Panic. Panic. How do I get to my son?
Right.
Am I going to be able to see him? Is he going to die without me? Those were all the things that were running through my mind. That anxiety level was on 1,000. And it took for me to fall on my knees and say, okay, God, you got to show me exactly what to do, or both of us are going to go out of here.
Well, let's talk sister to sister, because you know we have real conversations. How do you stand through that? Through right there. How did your faith ever get wavered?
Never.
Did your faith ever get tested?
Never.
Was it days that you was mad at God?
Never.
So how were you able to stand, sis, in all of that?
I had to be his strength.
Okay.
If I break, he would have broken.
Okay. I can respect that.
And I kept saying, if I fall apart, knowing that I'm his strength right now, I'm going to lose him sooner. And I needed more time.
You needed more time,
my video,
too.
I kept saying, God, I just need a little bit more time. If you give me a little bit more time with him, I'll be okay with this. And so talking to Mike, making sure that he understood everything that was going on. He says, okay, Mom, so what do you want to do? What do I want to do?
What do you want to do?
Baby, this is not me. This is you. What do you want to do? He says, well, Mom, as long as you give me your strength, I'll fight this. He said, but if you stop fighting, then I'm going to stop fighting. And I said, okay. So now that's the next thing that's on my shoulders. My son is saying as much strength as I give him, that's what he's going after. I didn't have time to be weak.
So you had to be his Aaron and his and hold his arms up for him. What a task. And here's the thing, and I ask that question because as women, as mothers, we have so much responsibility.
Ooh, yes.
We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, and we do it with a smile. We do it with a smile. We do it so gracefully. But deep down on the inside, we just...
It's heavy.
It's heavy. But heavy is the head that wears the crown.
There you go.
Because sometimes I think that people don't realize, especially as black women, that even when we don't want to, we do. Even when we feel like we can't, we do. You get what I'm saying? So I just, when I saw the Stand in Mike Tall campaign and the hashtag, and if you get a chance, do me a favor on Facebook, search the hashtag Standing Mike Strong, so you can see the journey.
Oh, wow.
And when I saw the journey, that's the power of the hashtag, though. I don't think people realize the power of the hashtag.
Right.
But when I saw the campaign, my heart grieved. It wept for you. Because I couldn't imagine losing a child. I have one. And I think him and Mike might be the little bit of the same age. My son is 28.
Okay, Mike was 30.
See, up in that area. And so I just couldn't imagine losing my only begotten. And having that that campaign, or your life, real life. Because some people go through real life. Some of the stuff y'all go through that y'all be screaming about don't be real life. But having that real life experience, I was actually in a dark place with my son. And I told you this off camera too. I said, I read your post and I said, God began to prick at my heart because I was literally beefed out with my son. And as parents and as a mom, sometimes you want more for your children, and sometimes they don't listen because they know everything, and before you know it, you're praying for them more because you know they ain't listening, and you need God to keep them and cover them, because God, you said you bless babies and foods, you protect babies and foods, and so we was just beefed out, and I wasn't talking to him, and he wasn't talking to me, and I read the Standing Mike Strong, hashtag Standing Mike Strong, and God began to deal with me. And so I allowed him to gut me, because some of us don't let him gut us.
Right.
You know, I allowed for him to gut me and to correct me, you know, and to put me back in right fellowship. Because at the end of the day, our kids' journey is our kids' journey.
That's right. And
the same God that carried me through is going to be the same God that carries him through. But sometimes as parents, we forget that.
We do.
You know.
We do. And it's challenging, especially when you want the best for your kids. Children don't understand that we as parents and the life experiences, that we go through, they always say, oh, but you're so old school. But they don't understand. That old school taught me a whole lot. It taught me a whole lot.
The old school prepared me for your new school.
Exactly. And if they would just take a little bit of that, just a little,
wisdom,
a fraction
just
of
a little bit,
just a fraction of it, I think that the youth of today would be so different. That's a conversation that this one and I had. We talked about, he would always say, Mom, had I just done one thing differently, all of this would have been different. And I said, well, what do you mean by that, son? Ma, had I not decided it, because I did not want my son to go to the gym at all. I did not. But I had to realize, too, that he was 18. And it was a decision that he had to make. I had kept him close to me all those many of years, and now I needed to let him branch off. And he said, well, Mom, had I not did that, I wouldn't have never got the tattoos. I would have listened. I wouldn't have hid it from you, and I wouldn't be in this. And that was where his faith was tested. Why did God allow this to happen to me? So Mike's faith was tested instead of yours. Yes. Why did God let this happen to me? And let's put a pin right there. Because I think a lot of times when we grow through things that we ask that question, and we were raised to say, well, you don't question God. That's right. And I got older, and you know, you get older. We talked about gracefully turning 40, then 41, 42, and going all the way up there. As I've gotten older, my relationship with Abba has become so much more intimate. Right. And so my thing now is, who better else to ask why than God? You know, I need that strength. I never understood why old folk would say you never question God. You never question God. You need that answer. Yes. So why? What do you want me to do next? Exactly. What am I supposed to do for this? You know, and then, but Jesus questioned him. He said, if it's your will, let this cup pass from me. In layman terms today, he basically said, why me? Why got to go through this? But this is the question. Why not me, God? Why not me? Why not? Yeah. So that's definitely where he was in this. And I'm glad that we were able to get from that why me, God, to why not me. And And that is an amazing transformation in somebody who has just learned what their fate is, and accepting it.
And accepting it.
Yeah.
I think that was hard. I literally had to hold the hand of my brother as he transitioned. And he fought for so long because he wasn't ready to accept the will of God. And it was painful to see him wanting to stay here a little bit longer for us, but watching him suffer.
Right.
So let's talk about that, because often I said to you was, you're selfless. Because you never wanted your son to suffer.
Right.
You did, and even though you was asking God for a little bit more time, I'm silly. We act silly sometimes together. I just think that you was asking God for enough time so you could find herb. You was asking for that time, but I don't want people to think that you were being selfish.
And
because you weren't.
Not believe some of the messages that I got.
People thought you were being selfish.
Thought I was being selfish. Why are you making him suffer? And that was another reason why I wanted to do the interview, because I needed folks to have clarity on that. When Michael said, "Mom, be my strength for as long as you'll fight, I'll fight," that was not me being selfish to continue to fight so that he could fight to be something. It was my determination to finish every goal that he wanted to do before his chapter was over.
But that was your son's charge to you.
That was his charge to me,
you.
And I had to uphold it. If I had dropped it by the
through
wayside,
thick, through thin, through hell and high water, that was his charge to you. And as his mother, you honored that.
I honored that to the utmost.
To the utmost.
To the utmost.
Because some days, I worried about you traveling from Maryland to Virginia and traveling back, and you were even going there through the winter times. And
every day. 67 days.
Every day for 67 days. And I remember praying for you, and I would get on social media, and I said to you, I think I privately messaged you a couple of times, and I was like, rest. Get you some rest.
You would not believe how many people, I had people, I had no idea who they were, just praying for me to just shut down and just rest for a little while.
How was that? How was that? How was it having the world rally behind you? People praying for you from the Northeast, South, and West, everywhere, from the United States to different countries, different continents.
Tyra, that was so... You all came behind me and were my push. So where I was pushing him, I had so much strength coming up behind me. And that's what traveled with me up and down those roads, because it was not easy. I remember days of just being dead dog tired.
I know.
I don't know many of those days how I got from Danville, which is 8 hours from me, down there,
and back.
Sat with him for as long as I could sit with him, and then turn around and come back so that I could be
a
with
mother
my children.
To your other children.
And then get up at 5 a.m. and turn around and do it all over again the next day. It was nothing but the grace of God that allowed me to do that. When I tell you, some of them days I would just get in that car, close my eyes, and wake up and be there. It was like I zoned out. And those were those moments I knew that was God speaking to me. He took me into a whole different realm that didn't allow me to see what I was traveling through. He was preparing me for what I was coming into. Because every day that I walked into that hospital, I was experiencing something different. I've walked into that hospital a few times to them shocking him back. Devastating.
And I want to talk about that. I really want to talk about everything is just falling. Thank you, Paris. Paris just want to show y'all the legs. I want the shoes. Them shoes. Them boots. My sister came on set, honey, looking good, looking sharp. I want to talk about the jacket. The heart jacket, the heart monitor jacket, because I want to give everybody the information the people that may not have followed the journey.
Right.
Because when his heart would stop, he had on this jacket, correct?
Yes.
And what exactly did the jacket do?
So the life vest is...
The life vest.
Yes, it's called the life vest.
Okay.
And what the life vest does is when it monitors your heart. And this is something that is worn 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no taking it off. When his heart would stop, that vest would literally shock him back.
Okay.
Just as if they were putting paddles on you.
Okay.
That's how that vest would do. And it would continue to shock you until you came back. That vest went off so much till it was just insane. He even got tired of wearing the vest. He's like, "Mom, look,
we just gonna take off the vest.
Let's just take the vest off."
Right.
He would call me in the middle of the night, "Mom, these alarms are going off." Because every time the alarms go off, the nurses have to come in. They got to do a thorough check of him. They got to do everything that they would do vital-wise and reset that thing, even if it wasn't shocking him. If his heart rate dropped low.
I was going to say, did the alarm, were the alarms going off because the heart rate was dropping low?
It was dropping low, and they would have to rev him back. It was like doing a rewind.
Okay.
And rev him back up and bring him back up. And he would always know. That was the thing that messed me up. He would always know when it was about to stop. And can you imagine knowing the moment you're about to die? And so that's what bothered me, thinking about his mind. Laying there in that bed, and you can feel, and he would call me and say, "All right, Mom, it's slowing down." He would never say this is it.
Okay.
He would just say, "Mom, it's slowing down. They're going to have to come in here and rewind me." But he always wanted me to know, "I love you," just in case they couldn't get it restarted.
Okay.
And that shocked Michael back 28 times.
So each time that this vest shocked him back, was it doing more damage to his body?
Medically, doctors would say yes, because as of today, what Hopkins is telling me, I can say Hopkins because I give them total praise. Hopkins has said never, and we know John Hopkins is major, in their history have they heard of anyone being shocked back 28 times.
28 times.
Never.
So basically what Paris is saying is just like someone being rushed to the hospital or to emergency and their heart stops and they shock them back to life.
Because they said normally you would come back with no brain function. You would just be in a vegetative
I didn't think about that because the vegetative state.
Right. They said you would be in a vegetative state. You probably wouldn't, have any use of your organs. They said normally the patient would go into stroke after the third time. So they said for him to go through
28,
he never lost his mind. He never went into a stroke. He could, for what
he was still communicating.
He was still
and eating. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
Nothing changed. Nothing changed. So that was remarkable. That life vest was literally a lifesaver for him.
The lifeline for him.
It was the lifeline. And it's amazing how it happened because he was not a candidate for that life vest. Because he had already been deemed terminal and they had already given him a time frame. So Michael's time frame at that point was only a couple of weeks.
They had, and let's stop right there.
Yeah.
They had only given him a couple of weeks, and I remember you making a post.
Yeah.
And I remember just praying, God, saying your words. Give her more time. Give my girl more time. Let her and her son do whatever they need to do for each other. Let him do what he got to do with you. I just felt like you had already been through enough. We watched you go through a divorce. I felt like you just needed some time. You needed grace. You needed time and grace. And so you put up this post, and I'm thinking to myself, and that's what I meant when I said some days I wouldn't get on social media because I wasn't ready. You know how you get on social media and the first thing you see is something, you be like, oh my God.
Right.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that post, I'm like, okay. Let's talk about the journey getting him home. Because at first we couldn't get him home. And I'm saying we because I feel like we've all been a part of this journey. We couldn't get Mike home because the doctors felt like his body wasn't strong enough to make that journey in an ambulance.
period. When we put him in a life vest, it showed to be effective.
Okay.
Because it was working.
Okay.
And then we made that first attempt January into February to get him home. Let me stop right there real quick, because I got to tell you all how amazing that is. I got on Facebook with that first post and made my revelation of what I was going through with my son. And like I said, Michael was not a candidate for that life vest. And so that meant insurance was not going to pay for this vest.
Right.
And in order for me to get him in that vest, I had to come out of pocket with this thing, which was $10,000 a month just to put this vest on him. And I said, God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. One of his amazing nurses said, we're going to put you on some type of charity thing, some program that they had. She said, and so we're going to roll the price back. And it's now going to bring you back down to about $45. Can you swing $45? And I'm going, can I swing $4,500 a month for my child? Yes. I'm going to figure it out. I got on Facebook and I shared with everyone about the life vest and trying to get Michael home. The goal was to raise the $10,000 just to get us started. Tyra, when I say within a matter of hours, that thing hit 5,000. I cannot say this couple's name, but I will always be humble to them. People, I have no idea who they are. Her and her husband called me and said, we don't know you, and we don't know your son, but we've been following this journey. And if you give us your bank account number, we're going to send you the full amount of the vest, in addition to what you already have, so that you'll be okay for a few months. In my mind, I'm going, people play with you all the time. Whatever. When I say I woke up the next morning, and there were 6 digits in my account, and I'm going, oh my God. I called Michael, and I took a screenshot of the bank account, and I said, he just started crying. He was like, Ma, what in the world? I said, that's nothing but God, boy. That's nothing but God. That allowed for him to get that life vest on, for the transport to happen.
Okay.
To have all the medical equipment and stuff brought into
the house. Because he needed the hospital bed.
He needed everything. Everything. Because remember, he was not mobile.
Right.
He could not walk anymore.
Right.
And so we made that first attempt to transport him home. 30 minutes in, he went into cardiac arrest. And they could not get him to come back. And so they said, we got to go back. We got to go back. We're not equipped to handle this. And so they kept working on him, massaging his heart. And that tech shocked him one more time. And he came back. But that meant now we got to start from scratch again.
Right.
And the doctors just said, he's just not strong enough to do it. And that's when they went through the bells and the loops and the ringers to make sure that I could now stay at that hospital.
And I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Paris, get out of my interview notes. Oh, my goodness. I mean, we know that you used to have a radio show, but you're all in my interview notes, Paris.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, no, I'm just kidding. I was going to say, from that experience right there, because at first you couldn't stay at the hospital, but now they're making it comfortable to where you can stay at the hospital. Now you're able to take him herbs from out your garden, the water. Yes.
The oils.
The oils.
The first visit, I remember that charge nurse calling me. Matter of fact, it was his first doctor that called me. He says, listen, I don't care what, and they had me on this conference call. He said, we don't care what y'all have to do, but she's coming here for her son. And I'm going, oh God, he's put warriors in my path
People
for me.
fighting for
I don't
you.
have to fight this. I don't have to fight it.
Yes.
And that doctor, he called me every hour on the hour until everything was approved. How fast can you get here? And I'm looking at GPS and I'm going, okay, this is the mileage I have to travel. This is what I got to go through. He says, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put you up in the Hilton Hotel for a week. If you can just stay this week, he said, and then we'll figure everything out from that point on. I said, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And I was in that car. When they said go, it was go.
It was go.
It was go. No thinking, just throw some clothes in the bag and go.
Right.
That was the first time I had physically seen my son in almost a year.
So all of the interactions were phone, through the nurses, through everything, the video chat, and now you're staying at the hospital in Virginia or at a hotel, and one day you get the news that Mike gets to come home.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah. Oh, that was from the first time, I had all the medical equipment and everything ready. And then they gave us the news that he couldn't come home. So I got discouraged. And I said, okay, I'm just going to make this transport back and forth. It's whatever. I'm there with him. So I sent...
Whatever the sacrifice is.
I sent everything back.
Okay.
I remember sitting at the office, and I got this call and said, Mrs. Evans, we're an hour away from you. What?
I remember that.
I said, you're what?
An hour away.
How fast can you get home? I said, I don't have no medical equipment. I don't have a bed for him. Oh, my God. My friend, my awesome friend James, who is at the funeral home with me.
Okay.
He says, calm down. We're going to figure this thing out.
Right.
We got on the phone. We were making phone calls. Before I knew it, Jayla was calling me, Ma, the people are here with the medical bed. What do you want? Open the door. Let them set everything up. By the time I got there, everything was set up. By the time I parked my car good, the ambulance was pulling up, and I see my son. And he had...
How was that moment? How was that moment? Because you had been through so much.
I panicked.
You panicked?
I fell on the floor.
Okay.
And I began to cry. Because now everything is real.
And the weight is different. You have a medical team at the hospital.
And now it's just
you. It's just you.
And I got scared.
Okay.
Because
I can
now
see that.
I'm thinking the children haven't seen their brother. They don't know what to expect.
How is this going to affect them? Yeah.
They're going to be scared of
traumatized.
He does not look like this.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. And I sat on the floor and I cried and my mother said, get up. You've been waiting for this? Get up. And I'm going, Ma. And she was like, I get it. She was like, but this is not the time to fall apart because he's right there. I'm looking at him through this glass window of this ambulance and they're prepping him and they're doing everything. And then they take him out and he has this huge smile on his face. And when they brought him in, the kids just embraced him. All that fear, that moment of the enemy messing with me, because that's all it was.
Fear, false evidence appearing real.
There you go. It went out the door because even Jordan who had never had the opportunity to see his brother because he's been in the gym.
Right, and Jordan is the baby. He's 5.
The baby.
Yeah. And there's a big age gap.
There's a big age gap. To now seeing him in this condition, and it was like they did not see what was wrong with him. They saw this. And all I could do was just stand there and just cry tears of joy because I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Now, I had not told Nolan that he was home, that he was en route. I didn't tell Nolan anything because Nolan kept going on this high and the low. All right, they say they gonna bring him home. Now they can't bring him home. He ain't gonna make it home. So I wanted to make sure he was there. And then I called Nolan and I said, Nolan, I need you to get here right now. Oh my God, my happened. Then I said, listen, I just need you to get here. Nolan lives in Cockeysville. Okay. I know Nolan got to my house within 15 minutes. And when he walked in, he was expecting me to say Mike was gone. But there was Mike. That boy, he got on his knees and he crawled to his brother's bedside.
That bonding moment.
Oh, it was the
that moment that they needed as brothers.
They needed that. And I watched something happen that was phenomenal. It was like Mike just came back to life. It was like he inhaled the energy that was in that house and was like, okay, I got
energy matters though. But energy matters.
It does.
And energy matters. And one of the things I want to say, shout out to your babies for holding you up and Mike up and holding you down. Because I remember that there would be times that they'd be like, Mine, you go ahead and take a nap. We got him. We'll watch him. We'll monitor him. So shout out to those babies.
Let me tell you, Jalen was my extreme backbone. Whereas I'm thinking that fear that I'm going to have to do all this by myself. Because I'm thinking my mom had come in town. She's prepared to stay with me. But I'm also like, my mother can do but so much. Because remember, I was just in Virginia taking care of her.
Right.
So I'm like, it's but so much she can do. And Jalen was just like, Mom, we got this.
We got this. The tribe got
yes,
this.
Yes. And from now, okay, he's home. And now I have to readjust. I can't really sleep at night because I gotta listen for him. I gotta make sure what this vest is
Right,
going.
you're sleeping light.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
halfway sleeping. Yeah.
And Jay will say, "Ma, go to bed. I'm gonna take the night shift. You got the day shift." And now I'm thinking, but okay, what if he has an accident? What if he needs to be cleaned up? What if he, I'm going through all these things, and Jalen's going,
I got this.
And to see this young man
have you
take care of his brother the way that he did, Tyra, it was amazing.
And I think, Paris, that your kids even showed you in that moment how resilient they were. Because I think, and we just talked about this, but piggyback a little bit, as parents, we forget about the seeds that we planted in our children's lives. And so that was their moment. I want to talk to you, because this hour is going quick.
It is.
It is. Are you? Yeah. I want to talk to you. I need for you to go here with me about the day that his heart stopped for the last time and the conversation that you and he had.
Oh, wow. So the last 5 days, Michael went into that phase that we're not used to seeing with people that are about to transition, not knowing who people are. He didn't recognize me. And he always told me, Mom, if I don't recognize you, shut the machines off.
Okay, pause right there because I need to say this. Remember that Michael had got his color back.
Yeah.
He was eating everything.
Everything.
Paris was nursing. You know how you hear the old people, the elders say, nursing them back to life.
He came home at 120 pounds. I got him up to 168 pounds in a week.
In a week.
In a week.
In a week. And so I wanted to point out that fact, how those herbs that you use.
Doctors could not figure out what I was doing.
And they called and asked
and
you.
They called and asked
what
me.
were
They
you
sent,
doing?
No, they sent doctors to the house.
To figure out what you
I never had doctors come to my house before. But these doctors from Hopkins were in my home.
Trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure out what was... And he told me, he says, we're not going to take him back to the hospital. We need to leave him here because he's getting his best healing here.
He was.
It was not that I wanted Michael to go back to the hospital, but when he went into cardiac arrest, we had to take him
the
back
last
to the
5 days.
Yeah.
So he started forgetting you.
He started forgetting, and then, so at that hospital with him losing memory, and then he went into a spiritual warfare.
Okay.
He went all the way back in his mind. And he's trying to find forgiveness to whoever and whatever and correct mistakes. And the last battle that Michael fought was with his father.
I want to say something real quick. This interview might go a little over 5 minutes, but I watched my brother go through that. He went it's like, I called it, his life was flashing before his eyes.
Yes.
Because he was going through every area of his life, the things that he did wrong, the things that he didn't think God was going to forgive him. And I heard you say that, and I'm like, this is what when people say my life flashed before my eyes, I be saying, baby, you don't even really know what that feel like until you get ready to transition.
It literally
It literally happens. So his last battle was he and his father. Was there a relationship?
So Michael's always had a relationship with his dad.
Okay.
It was not until we went through the divorce.
Okay.
That they just fell apart. I've come to find out some things after reading Michael's journals. I think I have a better understanding.
So he left a journal behind.
He left a whole lot of journals behind.
My gosh.
That I've slowly been reading through.
Okay.
But one of the conversations that Mike and I had was why he went to Virginia. He went to Virginia because he was angry with me.
Okay.
He was angry with me because his father told him I had an affair, and that was why we were having this divorce proceeding place, which is absolutely not true.
Did you have an affair?
Never had an affair.
He was having an
affair. It was actually
affair.
his father.
Okay, well, that's what they do.
Right.
I mean,
but the kids had no idea, and I had no idea that he had told the oldest boys
that he
this
was sowing
story.
seeds of discord.
Right. Okay. So when Michael and I, we're finding peace in this journey now, and he finally shares this with me, and he asked me, Mom, did you have an affair? No, sweetie, I did not have an affair. He says, my father told me this, Ma, and this is why I left. I said, oh. And so those last days of him fighting this battle with his dad, he's talking about it. Why,
Okay.
why would you make me have this distance with my mother? Why would you do this to me?
Right.
And his dad is not there.
Did he ever show up?
He
Did
not
he
see
ever?
Michael. No, he never came. He never came. Michael said, I just listening, because I would just sit by his
I had to
bedside
sip
and
my
listen
wine
to
on
him.
that one.
He said, Dad, what were you thinking? What were you doing? And then he would just physically be fighting. And I said, oh, yeah, he's really bad. And I let him do this for a whole day. And then finally, I got up and I stood over him and I said, I need you to open your eyes. And he blinked, and then he opened them. And I said, listen, that's enough. He says, no. I said, no, it's enough. We got to stop this. I said, because you're wasting time. Our time is very precious. I said, and you need to end this battle. He says, Mom, do I have to end it? I said, you have to end it with him. And he says, well, you just tell him. I waited on him. And I said, I will tell him that. He said, I will tell him that.
Did
said,
he
"Just
ever
promise."
show up for his son?
He did not.
Did he show up for his other children?
He did not. And has not.
So did he come to the service?
He did not. He did not.
I cuss, so I'm just gonna move on because I cuss. Paris might not. Y'all, I cuss.
So
Paris, how was that for you as his only parent, standing Mike strong?
It was frustrating. It was frustrating because I needed someone to embrace. Although I don't think I would have wanted it to be him.
However, it's his father.
It's his
so
father.
y'all, even if y'all wouldn't have been hugged up, y'all could have stood
We
shoulder to shoulder,
on each
right?
other's strength and gotten through that. But I felt like, wow, he just left me to really do this by myself. And I thank God that he gave me someone absolutely amazing in my life who was my prayer warrior, my friend, and that's all he is, just my amazing friend. He's my pastor, he's my confidant, and he would pray over me all the time. And I could talk to him about any and everything. Any and everything. If I needed to get raw and real and cuss about it, he didn't judge me on it. If I wanted to say, you know what, forget that nigga. Excuse me. He was like, if that's how that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. But it felt good to have someone
that outlet,
right? Because people look at me as being Minister Paris,
like you don't go through nothing,
right? But with him, I could just be transparent, and that's what I needed to just be able to throw on some sneakers with y'all, right? See me and some jeans and just battle it out, and that's what I needed. And so
without being judged,
yeah.
That's the key right there.
Right.
Without
when you
being
have
judged.
a friend that you can, that's the key thing. But on Michael's last day, that's what you asked me about. Wow. Michael struggled. He battled, not knowing. That Saturday, that Saturday, he went totally quiet. Saturday was the day we did the hand mold. He would not wake up at all. These amazing doctors at Hopkins, they were like, we're going to get this mold done. They had that boy propped up, had me leaned back, held up, whatever they had to do to get this mold done. And the nurse says, well, Mrs. Evans, hold his hand really, really tight so this thing can set, because you got to sit in place for 20 minutes for this thing to set. And she said, squeeze his hand. And he squeezed my hand. And I said, that's how I know he's still there. We got the mold done. Sunday, nurse called me. Miss Evans, Michael's awake. What? He hadn't been awake in days now. I said, okay. I said, well, can you put him on the phone? He says, Mom, you want to come and see me? I said, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm coming. I go and I spend the day.
No. You just don't go. You take him a whole bunch of food.
I can't remember what it was.
You want me to say
it was mozzarella sticks
everything.
And everything. We had a good old time. And then he wanted his ice cream, so we got ice. He had everything.
Apple pie. I'm talking about everything.
He had everything, and he was happy. And he did not want me to feed him, although I was trying to feed him because he couldn't use his hand. But he did. Wendy's, Mom, go get me a milkshake. All right, let me go get everything he asked for that day. I got him, and he was so happy. And so I went back home. The nurse called me back, and she said, He wants to see his brothers and sisters. So we're going to let you guys come in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Hopkins is very strict. They weren't letting
because we're still in a pandemic,
right.
people.
Well, they let the
but this
kids
is the
come
favor
in.
of God.
This is nothing but God. I said, I'm on my way. Honey, when I say from Westminster to John Hopkins, the daggone truck was on too. I got there. He spent the best time with them, and he was in his right mind. And he told me, he says, Ma, I know yesterday I wasn't here. He says, I wasn't talking in sense. He says, but I'm here today. I said, okay. And I let him have his one-on-one time with the kids, and it was so needed. And I just watched from out in the hallway. I didn't listen or interfere. I just watched.
That was their time.
That was their time. And he said everything he needed to say to them for it to be okay.
Okay.
And so when I went back in, I said, all right, sweetie. I said, well, visiting hours are over. I said, because they've been gracious to us. I said, so I'm going to take the kids home. I said, and then I'll be back and I'll stay tonight. He says, no, ma'am. I said, what do you mean? I said, you don't want me to come back? No, ma'am. I said, babe, why you don't want me to come back? He says, Mom, I'm going to sleep. I said, oh, you going to sleep or you just going to sleep? He said, I'm going to sleep. I said, boy, you ain't going nowhere. I'll be back. He says, Mom, do not come back. I said, oh, God, this is it. He stopped. I went home, and that's when I began to petition on Facebook. It's time for me to push. Because I know now I got to push him. I got to give him the energy. We've done enough. He has his closure. The next morning, I got up and I called over to the hospital and I talked to the nurses, thank you, as I normally do. And I says, hey, how's he doing today? She said, oh, he's sitting up in the chair. He got him out the bed. I said, oh, okay. I said, that is great. I said, can I speak to him? And she put him on the phone. Hey, Mom. No, he always say, hey, lovely lady. I said, hey, sweetie, how are you? He says, Mom, I feel really good right now. I said, great. I said, well, I know you sent me home last night. I said, can I come and see you? Yeah, you can come and see me. I said, okay, I'm dressed. I'm about to walk out the door now. I said, give me a few minutes. I'll be there. I said, you want me to bring you anything? No, you don't have to bring me nothing. He said, I'm okay. They just gave me breakfast. I said, oh, okay. I said, all right, well, I'm on my way. Mom. What, baby? I love you. I said, I love you too. And the phone fell. And the nurse picked the phone up and she said, Mrs. Evans, he's gone to sleep. And that's how Michael left me. So I said, it's amazing because when he first moved to Virginia and he was working the night shift, he'd get off at 1 o'clock every morning, and Michael would call me 1:05 every morning because he needed to say, I love you, Mom, and good night. And that's what he did that day. He did not want me to be there.
No.
He did not want me to see that happen. And that was our biggest battle. If we didn't battle about nothing, we battled about that through the whole journey.
Because if you would have had your way, you'd have been there.
I'd have
through it all.
Through it all. But he did not. And he told me that time and time again. And I think when I said I was on my way, he's going, she not going to stop. So I'm going to end it. And that's how he left. And I just remember getting there. I needed to see his face. I needed to make sure there was no distress.
Right.
I needed to make sure that whatever I was looking for that was going to give me peace with it, gave me peace. And I just remember walking in there and him just laying there smiling. And
he had that peace over him.
No, he was literally smiling, like teeth showing and all. And the nurse said, I left him just as he was. She said, because I needed you to see how it happened. And just seeing him, and I took a picture. I had to take a picture because I needed that memory in my mind of, wow, this is what it looks like when God says, Michael, and you say, yes. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
When my pastor preached that service, the one thing that sticks with me is Michael, through this whole time of them giving him 2 weeks to it lasting 7 months.
I was going to say we went from 2 weeks to 7 months.
of him saying, not yet.
Not yet.
I ain't ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Reverend Turner got up there and he preached, now I'm ready.
Now I'm ready.
And when I remember sitting in that service, I can't remember anything that he really said in that service.
Except for,
now I'm ready.
I'm ready.
And I said, is that what that was?
That was what that was.
He said, Ma, we did this.
Mm-hmm.
We did everything we set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
He got every meal he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He sat in the garden.
Mm-hmm.
He got to come home. He saw his family.
He had that healing moment with you.
He had his healing moment.
Mm-hmm.
He was not suffering. The vest didn't have to shock him back. He wasn't in any more pain. He just said, and now I'm ready.
I'm ready. Let me ask you, because there's different stages of grieving.
Mm-hmm.
What stage of grieving do you think you're in now?
I don't think I grieve.
Okay.
I don't think I grieve.
And I asked you that because I don't think you grieved either.
I don't grieve.
Yeah.
Grieving is for people who wish they had done something different.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
I don't
Paris.
wish I could have done
That's
anything
good. That's
different.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's what grieving is. Grieving is, oh my God, I didn't do this, or I did. I don't go through the woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Mm-hmm.
I go through the, okay, this is what God told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very proactive when God tells me to move.
Mm-hmm.
I moved exactly how He
Mm-hmm.
told me to move, and in the direction He told me to go. And He gave me the outcome. I asked God for 3 things. Get my child home.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Let him be peaceful.
He did.
And give me time.
He did.
He gave me all of it and some.
Check, 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 check. It seemed like the checklist kept going
The
on.
checklist kept going
Just check,
on.
check, 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 check.
Because the boy got everything he asked for that he
Mhm.
wanted,
Mhm.
except for the daggone Apple iPhone. We wasn't doing
We
that.
wasn't doing that.
We wasn't
I might,
doing that.
Auntie Tyra would. I wish I'd have known because I'd have got you that iPhone, Mike.
He kept saying, "Ma, I need this one." I said, "Boy."
Let me ask you, how are the children doing?
Nolan struggles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they were the 2 closest in age,
Mhm.
and they had a phenomenal relationship. Mike and Nolan had one argument in their whole lives, even as children,
Mm-hmm.
and that was as an adult, when it was time for him to come home.
Mm-hmm.
They got into this argument about Michael being sick
Mm-hmm.
and a power struggle between me and Nolan,
Mhm.
because I babied them so
Mhm.
much,
Mhm.
and Michael wanted him to man up.
Mm-hmm.
And Nolan didn't know how to receive his big brother
Mhm.
telling him to man up.
Mhm.
And they got into a very bad argument.
Well, most men don't. If another man tell another man up, it's
Yeah.
it's an egotistic.
It's an ego.
Yeah.
Yes, but they argued about that,
Mhm.
and it broke their hearts.
Mhm.
It devastated them. But I remember them reconciling that.
Good.
So they made peace with that, and they said, we will never do this again. It seemed like for me it was only for a few hours that they was arguing, but
Mhm.
they got through.
It was a lifetime for them,
It was
though,
a
because it was
lifetime for them.
different
Right.
for them, because that's
Right.
something they didn't do.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, I have 2 last questions for
Yes.
you. You've done so good throughout this interview. Just sip, go ahead and take you another sip. Let me ask you, what do you want the world to know about Michael Evans?
I want people to know that Mike's journey taught a lot.
Mhm.
It taught a lot, and I'm still learning lessons
Mhm.
through it. The major lesson that has been learned, and I would like for the revelation to be revealed, is that when you're going through changes and obstacles in your life and you're questioning God, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to become? How am I supposed to do this? I think in Michael's final days, he got all of his answers because he didn't know how his life would be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
He thought it would be of some young kid that just died of a rare disease that nobody ever
He
heard
didn't know
of.
that he was going to
Yeah.
affect the world.
He had no idea
Mhm.
that his ministry would
Mhm.
not go in vain.
Mhm.
It escalated and elevated far beyond what he even imagined. And so when I began to when I asked him permission to do Standing Mike Maestro,
Mhm.
he says, "Ma, I don't know where it's gonna go, but
Mhm.
okay, if that's what you want to do. That's
what you
fine.
want to do.
That's what you want to do. That's fine." I want people to know how amazingly strong my son was.
Mhm.
To go through the medical process that he went through,
Mhm.
to survive it,
Mhm.
to not break
28
down.
times. I just
28 times.
being brought
But don't
back
forget,
28
he
times.
died on the table in surgery. So that week before, remember, we said, okay, let's do the heart transplant because now Hopkins is saying we can do the transplant, and we know what the risks are, and it's supposed to have been a 5-hour surgery. It turned into just 45 minutes because as soon as they opened him up and saw how damaged everything was, that was it. They was like, we can't even close him up. And Mike died. They pronounced him dead at 6:57. And I remember them calling me and saying, you need to get back here. And as I'm driving, the phone rings again. And who is it? Michael.
He's Mom.
Mom, where you at?
Right.
Boy,
they just called and said.
He said, Mom, you know I died on that table. I said,
our kids be so nonchalant.
I said, Michael, where are you? I'm in recovery. Okay. He says, Mom, look, this what happened. They pronounced me dead at 6:57. They know that the anesthesia ain't taking me all the way under. So he's listening to everything. And he says, Mom, I felt my heart stop. I heard them. He said, but then I heard the doctor say, try it again. He said, and I felt them massage my heart. And I said, God, not yet. He said, this is all I kept saying in my head. I haven't talked to my mother yet. He said, and then something said, and I was back, Mom. He said, so you on your way? That's the day he got the milkshake and stuff. Can you bring me a milkshake? I said, wait a minute, this boy just died.
He came back and
came back
for a
life.
milkshake.
And he wanted a milkshake with some french fries and a cheeseburger. Okay, let me go to Burger King. Let's make this roll.
Let's pull up with it.
And I got there and the doctors are sitting there like this. When I walked in the room, they literally, like they were exhausted. Just sitting there with him like.
And they probably went from unbelievers to believers. Because
That's
that right there is
exactly
a
what
miracle,
they say.
sign, and wonder.
His surgeon, who was an older gentleman, said to me, Miss Evans, if I never believed in the power of prayer, he said, because I'm not a religious man, your son has taught it to me. He said, because I've watched everything happen here, and I've never seen anything like it before.
Purpose.
He said, when we pronounce you, we ain't expecting you to come back. He said, but he's back, and he's in his right mind.
But the God we serve raised the dead.
God we serve raised the dead.
Purpose. Let me ask you my final question. And before I end this conversation, I want to say thank you. You could have did this interview with anybody. Thank you for choosing me. I love you. You are one of the strongest, dopest women, queens that I know. I don't think I could have done this. If I was sitting in your seat, I probably would have cried 50 million times. I'm telling you, for some real. And I'm not saying that to say that you don't have those moments, but the strength that you have distributed just showed us, the world, me, publicly and privately. I salute you, Queen. And thank you for this time. Look in the camera. What would you say to that mother that has lost a child? Whether it was to gun violence, whether it was to an illness, whether it was to suicide, whether it was to overdose. What would you say to that mother who is grieving and who is just heartbroken?
First thing is understanding the process, because it's a major process. Never allow anyone to tell you how to grieve in the right and the wrong way, because there is no right and no wrong way. That's the first thing I need people to understand. That just because I smile here today don't mean that I ain't gonna cry my hour and a half drive back home.
Come on now.
It doesn't mean that I don't have those days where I lay in that bed like I did yesterday, missing my son, and I curl up with that pillow. But the difference is, it's not a sorrow cry that I have. It's a I simply miss you cry. And when you have those moments of having a child that gave their absolute best, you celebrate them. Because if you get lost in that moment of death, death will consume you. Death will take you to a place that leads to depression, isolation, anxiety, frustration. You block the world out. But then I also have to remember, I have other children. And I have to live for them. I have to live for me.
For you.
Because that was the one thing I promised that boy, was that I would not die where we were.
My God.
I had to live beyond that. He says, "Mom, you need to get married again, baby. I'm working on it. I'm
Date.
trying to
Do something.
Well, send me somebody. Come
Yes.
on. No, let me not somebody, someone." And just making sure that I uphold my part of the deal as being mom. Because when I took on this assignment as a young mother, it was to take care of my children to the best of my ability, with or without dad. Fortunately, it's been without dad.
But you've done it.
I've done it.
So
above and beyond.
So committed.
And gracefully.
I
that's the part that I love about it, because what's the saying? Thank God I don't look like what I've been through. Because Tyra, I should be broke down. I should be a hot mess. My hair should be falling out. It shouldn't be blonde. It should be white. I should look like what I've been through.
I always tell people rocking side to side in a straight jacket. But
that,
to be kept by God.
That's how I should.
Yeah.
But God didn't allow me to lose my mind.
No.
He didn't allow me to miss a beat. I wake up every day, and before my feet hit the floor, thank you, God, for this day. Any and everything that you have to offer to me in it, I'm going to receive it, and I'm going to handle it the best way that I can. And then I always hear that thing my son would say, "Slay that thing, Mom."
Slay that thing.
So that's why every day I get up and I make myself look good. Because my mother always say, when you get up and look good,
you feel
good.
Yeah, you do.
And I feel amazing. I feel amazing. I walk around the house, Mary say, "Mom, why you got to put a dress on every day?" Because I look good. When I look in the mirror, it reminds me of who I am. It reminds me that I'm a mother. It reminds me that I'm a pastor, that I'm a minister, that I'm someone's teacher, mentor. I'm the mentor. That's who I've become.
People are watching.
People are watching.
Always.
I was just in the store yesterday, and mask, everything on. You think people that don't notice you. Minister Paris. Oh my God, you're standing like my Strong's mom. And I'm going, oh my goodness. Maris's mom. This thing is phenomenal.
And it's a legacy.
It's a legacy.
It's a legacy. I'm excited to see what else comes from this ministry.
The book.
The book.
The book.
All right, well, you got to give me that exclusive interview when that book comes.
The book.
I'm telling you right now, Paris, if you sit in anybody else's chair for that book, we're going to have a problem.
I'm going to be here first with it, because it will tell everything that we didn't get to go over. It'll go, it'll go into in-depth detail and answer those questions.
Yeah, because we just didn't have enough time, but I thank you. Yes. I love you. To everyone that has tuned in to this epic exclusive interview, I say thank you for joining the conversation. If you're going to tweet about it, if you're going to repost it, please make sure you put hashtag standing Mike Strong. Please continue to pray for this mother, for this family. And I'm really, really, really excited to see God birth something major up out of this, like maybe scholarships or something, a foundation. Yes, so I'm excited. One of the things that I had done for Mike's homegoing celebration was I had some trees planted.
You did, yes.
Because I just felt like flowers die.
Flowers die.
But one day maybe you can go and the kids can go see his trees. Yes. Because trees
I wish you had
give
sent
life.
it to me, because they'd have been in my garden.
They're in the Amazon.
I know.
I know. We're going to have to go.
But that was amazing how you all did that. Because I didn't want flowers.
You didn't want flowers?
I wanted plants.
You wanted plants. Well, guess what? I'm saying this live on air. Tyra Hill and the Tyra Hill Show is going to gift you a plant. I'm going to find you. See, you have the green thumb. I don't. I ain't even going to fake the funk. But I do in the summertime. I get plants. And one of my favorite plants, and I'm going to get you this plant, is the elephant tree plant.
Why was I just on Amazon the night before last trying to find me one?
Oh, I'm going to get you one. I have a nursery in the country that has the most beautiful elephant, and the flowers grow out. And I love this thing because it gives me life in the summer.
That is amazing. was in
Yes.
work. I was on there at 1 o'clock in the morning.
No,
like,
don't,
no.
no.
And I dozed off. That's
No,
why I
because
didn't
God
get it.
knew I was going to get it for you.
Oh my God.
So guys, ladies and gentlemen, queens and kings, thank you for tuning in to this exclusive interview on the Tyra Hill Show, chopping it up with your leading lady, Tyra Hill, and Paris Harrison, Mike's mom. Remember that hashtag, stand in Mike strong. Please keep this family in your prayers. And whatever you do, stay up, stay blessed. We love you.
Yes.
We love you so much.